A prefix. A prefix is a word part at the beginning of a word. When a prefix is added to the beginning of a base word, it changes the word's meaning.
Look, Mateo, all of these prefixes mean the same thing. Not or the opposite of. I-N, I-M, I-R, I-L, D-I-S, N-O-N. I noticed those prefixes in some of the longer words in the handbook. Now let's think about suffixes. When a suffix is added to the end of a base word, it changes the word's meaning.
Look at this list of suffixes. They all mean the same thing. Act of or process of. I-O-N. A-T-I-O-N. I-T-I-O-N.
Some of the words in the lab handbook have these suffixes. We can use the meanings of all the word parts we've just learned to figure out what the long words mean.
Good idea. Let's start with this word. I recognize this part. Responsible. That means making wise decisions. At the beginning of the word, I see the prefix I-R. I know that means not or the opposite of. Irresponsible. Okay, we can use the meanings of the prefix and base word to get the meaning of irresponsible. Irresponsible means not making wise decisions.
Thanks for sharing your thinking, Mateo. Let's see if that meaning makes sense in this sentence from the handbook. The sentence says, if you are irresponsible in the lab, you might ruin someone's work. So the handbook is saying that if you do not make wise decisions in the lab, like maybe you rush or you're careless, might ruin someone's work. That makes sense. Now, Widget, are you being responsible?
Thanks for making wise decisions, Widget. Callie, why don't you find a word we can take a closer look at?
Okay. How about this one? I see the base word dependent, which means needing help from someone. And here's the prefix, I-N, which means not or the opposite of. Based on the meanings of those word parts, someone who is independent does not need help from someone. They do things on their own.
Let's test our meaning. The sentence in the handbook says, the lab has areas set aside for independent work. If you don't need help from someone, it means you work on your own. So, with our meaning, the sentence says, the lab has areas set aside where you can work on your own. That makes sense. You might want to be in a different area of the lab if you're working on your own.
What do you think about that, Widget?
Yay!
We might do independent work sometimes.
Yeah!
I think Widget likes that idea. But right now, we're still working together. Okay, here's another word I'm not sure about. The base word is fiction, which means a made-up story. And the prefix, N-O-N, means not or the opposite of. So nonfiction means not a made-up story. Or in other words, a story that is not made up. That means the story is true. The sentence says, the lab has a library with many nonfiction books about recent scientific discoveries. Using our meaning, we can say, the library has books that aren't made-up stories. They're about real scientific discoveries.
Go, Mateo, go! You're really getting this.